Constantly dealing with injuries does not have to define your athletic career. In this video, I'll tell you the story of my struggle against injuries, how I overcame them, and how you can do the same to truly unlock your athletic potential.
Runners, take your mark. Set.
My name's Danny Farrow, and I've been dealing with injuries ever since I started competing in sports. I had always been an active kid, even from my earliest days. During summertime and even after school, I would go outside and play with my friends until it was dark on most days. We would dig holes in the dirt until we hit water. We were in Florida, so it didn't take too long. We would make a runway going towards the pool, sprint down it, close our eyes, and jump into the pool, hoping we would take off and fly. We would teach ourselves to do backflips in the front yard. We would stack a few layers of towels so it wouldn't totally break our necks. It was great exercise. I loved moving my body and seeing all that it was capable of. When I was finally old enough to begin participating in competitive sports, I did what every boy in the United States does. I tried my luck at football. I wasn't any good at it, and I felt too heavy in all of the pads and spandex and all of the gear that were required to put on. So I played football for one season, and then I decided to give something else a try. I began running track and cross country in the 7th grade, and I immediately fell in love with the sport. I felt free when I was running, and I was actually quite good at it. I was on the varsity team, and I had the privilege of qualifying and competing in the state final at only 12 years old. But it wasn't long after that when my fiery trials would come. Our summer training began promptly after school ended, and not long after that, I was struck with 2 great pains, one in my knee and one in my feet. So technically 4, so in both legs. At the ripe age of 13, I had somehow managed to acquire 2 chronic overuse injuries. The one in my knees was known to be Osgood-Schlatter disease. It's a terrible name. At the age of 13, I couldn't even pronounce Osgood-Schlatter, and what's worse than that, it was called a disease. I was 13 years old. It made me think I was dying. Simply put, it's an inflammation that occurs when the patellar tendon tugs on the growth plate at the top of the shin bone, or the tibia. It usually happens to kids around that age who are constantly running, jumping, pounding on their legs. So needless to say, if I had started running just a year or 2 later, I wouldn't have caused that inflammation in my growth plate and would probably be around 6'5". The injury in my feet was plantar fasciitis, which is just an inflammation of the tissues and the tendons in the bottom of the foot. These injuries are what initially sparked my quest to find the most arch-supported, cushioned, heel-elevated shoes out there to wear at all times to fix my pain. As I mentioned, both these injuries were in both legs and would continue on for the next 5 years. The initial shock of realizing that I was indeed not invincible wore off with time, but the pain remained. I had visited doctors and trainers and physical therapists, but all the king's horses and all the king's men could not put me back together again. No one could give me a permanent treatment or plan to rid of these pains for good. I eventually determined that I was just destined to face the rest of my athletic career with constant pain and stiffness. I no longer felt the freedom that I had felt as a child or even when I had first started running. Over time, I accumulated more and more injuries as the new ones would seem to temporarily numb the effect of the previous. Some examples are a strained psoas, a talus ankle block, the previously mentioned Osgood-Schlatter and plantar fasciitis, piriformis syndrome, a metatarsal stress fracture, and patellar tendonitis in both knees, of course. I still managed to become quite successful, having won 2 state titles in the 800-meter dash, as well as some runner-up medals along the way. I was the second fastest high schooler in the country and had earned a full-ride Division I scholarship to the University of South Florida. It was there that I hit my absolute lowest point. I was in terrible pain and I wasn't getting nearly enough sleep each night. I would drag myself to my 6 a.m. workouts, barely survive just to spend the rest of the day in excruciating pain from the workout in the morning. After 1 full year of not accomplishing even close to what I wanted to in my first year of Division I athletics, and really seeing no prospect for any improvement in the future, I decided it was time to hang up the spikes. That was the end. Something that I had tied so close to my identity was no longer a part of my life at all. I was still required to endure the pain in my knees, hips, and ankles from the injuries that had not yet subsided. But I figured now I had the opportunity to do the one thing that I hadn't previously had the chance to do: rest. Truly rest. So I took up as healthy a lifestyle as I knew how to, which wasn't really all that healthy. I began on my journey to a pain-free life. After a couple of years, the injuries completely went away. except that's not at all even close to true. They had become worse than ever before. I couldn't even sit or drive for 20 minutes without terrible radiating pain in my knees. At this point, all hope was surely lost. I'd given up entirely and could only pray that I didn't degenerate so far so fast that I wouldn't even be able to play catch with my kids one day. But then something happened. I stumbled across a guy on the internet talking about the importance of strengthening the entire body, every aspect of it, not just the muscles. I'd grown up my whole life thinking that whenever you work out, whenever you train, whenever you even play sports, what you're working out is the muscles. That's all there is. But that's not the case. The body is one unit, and we have to view it holistically. Having heard of this concept, I went into full research mode. For the next year, I would do nothing but study these ideas both in theory and practice. First thing I realized was that those supportive shoes that I had been wearing for the past 8 years of my life were one of the biggest reasons that the injuries continued. It's similar to riding around in a wheelchair all the time and expecting your legs to get stronger. So I tossed my old Asics that I had worn while running and began doing as many things as possible entirely barefoot. For a while, I didn't see any results. But when I really began to understand the physiological purposes behind the concepts, I was able to apply them in my own way. It turned out that the most physiologically functional people were those who still lived like humans used to live and lived for thousands of years. I had found my future functional fitness in the principled practice of the past. That's deep. We're not designed to sit all day long and then go on a 60 to 90 minute workout every now and again. God designed the human body to move, and move well. I committed myself to training in this manner and would quite frequently get some funny looks. After just a few months, my patellar tendonitis completely vanished. For real this time. It may not seem like much, but after having these pains for 8 years, it was a miracle. I continued to apply what I learned and train in these unorthodox ways. I've been at it for only about a year now, and my strength, speed, and vertical jump even have improved tremendously. All I had cared about was getting rid of the pain, but it's not bad to be able to play sports a lot better and move a lot quicker. My story is not over yet, and yours certainly does not have to be either. I wish I had known what I know now when I was 13. Don't wait until it's too late to start caring about true health and true longevity. If you're a competitive athlete, or even if you're just like me and want to rid of your past injuries so you can go back to playing the sports you love, don't forget to subscribe. You're not going to want to miss how you can unlock your athletic potential through some relatively unconventional means. Again, I'm Danny Farrow, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Until then, go be human.